The story begins with a young man declaring he is a reincarnator, thrust into a fantasy world of swords and magic that he recognizes from a game he once played. He laments his terrible fate, knowing he has only one choice to survive. Meanwhile, a young blonde girl in a distinctive hood states that she made a decision in order to save this world. During a chaotic moment, a brilliant flash of blue magic erupts, seemingly freezing or striking down assailants. The blonde girl watches in surprise as one of the hooded figures is caught in the blast. A white-haired young man then appears, calmly stating he doesn't quite understand what's happening. The blonde girl seems to be in the middle of saying, "I must dash," when he intervenes. This white-haired young man positions himself protectively near the blonde girl, asserting that one shouldn't bully girls. However, he immediately questions his own actions, as his personal rule was to never draw attention to himself. The story then shifts to explain the game Kriana Fantasy, a popular dating action RPG set in the Kriana Royal Academy. Players can engage in battles or pursue romantic relationships with various heroines, with the story branching based on their choices and leading to numerous endings. One example shows a character named Celia asking the player to lunch, while another depicts a character named Alba arrogantly proclaiming that commoners are beneath him. It's revealed that regardless of the player's choices, Alba Ericia, the arrogant son of a duke, is an unavoidable antagonist. He's described as a strong, self-indulgent womanizer with a temper, the ultimate villain destined to oppose the game's protagonist. The story then returns to the white-haired young man, who is revealed to be this very Alba. He wakes up one morning in a simple house nestled in the mountains, exclaiming it's another wonderful day. This is the current life of Alba Ericia, the delinquent son of a duke, now living in seclusion. He reflects while farming that 3 years have passed since he reincarnated into the body of Alba. A flashback shows Alba, with his original game appearance of long brown hair, suddenly finding himself in the opulent Duke Ericia's mansion. He was utterly confused, not recognizing his surroundings or his own reflection. Then, memories of the game, Kriana Fantasy, surfaced. He recalled that in this youth fantasy game, Alba was a guaranteed villain. Game scenes depict Alba trying to claim the saint as his own or acting as a rival who might steal the heroine. Sometimes, he would become corrupted by evil, aiming to destroy the academy itself, vowing to crush both the protagonist and the institution. No matter the chosen path in the game, Alba was a persistent and multifaceted villain. The reincarnated individual, whose memories of the game are incomplete but vivid regarding Alba's character due to his constant presence, realizes with dawning horror that he has been reborn as this ultimate villain. His only thought is crap. He understands that Alba is fated to die in every scenario, whether in a conflict with the protagonist over a heroine or when defeated for his villainous deeds. This death flag seems unavoidable. Back in the Duke's mansion as the young, original Alba, he despaired over his reincarnation, questioning why he was brought into this world only to await his inevitable demise. Refusing to accept this fate, he resolved to take action. And so, young Alba, cloaked and carrying a large bag filled with his family's valuables, fled the Ericia mansion and his predetermined destiny. As servants discovered his disappearance and the theft, his father cursed him. Alba's plan was to sell the stolen goods and live a quiet life in the countryside, his sole aim being survival. 3 years later, the now white-haired Alba is shown contentedly farming in his mountain retreat. He acknowledges the inconveniences compared to his past life but cherishes his quiet, work-filled retirement, having changed his appearance and bought a small cottage. His peace is interrupted when a girl, Celia Margaret, calls out to him, apologizing for waking up late. Alba greets her, privately musing that the goddess of destiny seems unwilling to let him escape so easily. Celia cheerfully wishes him good morning. Celia then informs Alba that he has received a letter. Alba jests that if it concerns a debt, she should eat it, while internally noting that Celia is one of the game's potential love interests. Celia playfully retorts that she's not a goat, and Alba laughs. He then gently pats her head, and she seems pleased. Despite this friendly interaction, Alba reminds himself that he must not get involved with Celia, as she is one of the characters who could trigger his death flag. Celia is the saintess, serving the goddess of this world's religion. She is renowned for her healing abilities and her power to predict disasters. Alba wonders how a saintess became involved with him, clarifying that their meeting occurred half a year prior. A flashback shows Alba farming and later shopping in town. He overheard villagers discussing the supposed death of the Ericia family's nasty son, expressing relief that the town would now be peaceful. Alba realized his family hadn't bothered to search for him or dispel the rumors of his death, guessing they harbored considerable dislike for him too. While working in his field one day, he heard a scream. The scream originated from a nearby forest where Celia, the saintess, was being attacked by hooded assassins after her guards were defeated. As an assassin moved to strike her down, Celia screamed in terror. Suddenly, a flash of blue magic, the same seen earlier, incapacitated the attacker. Alba appeared, stating that one shouldn't make girls cry. Celia and a remaining assassin seemed to recognize something about him. Alba internally panicked, realizing she was one of the heroines connected to his death flags, remembering a game scene where Alba had claimed the saint. He lamented that he had isolated himself specifically to avoid such encounters. When the remaining assassins lunged, Alba sighed, thinking that the goddess of destiny was determined not to let him escape his fate. As Celia urged him to run, Alba unleashed another powerful magic attack, swiftly defeating them. He then thought that since contact had been made, there was no helping it. Celia watched in shock as he defeated all the assassins with a single blue flash. Alba reflected on his 3 years of isolated training to master magic. He felt a pang of guilt for killing, even if he knew it was a game world, but reaffirmed his decision to resist his destiny with all his might. Alba asked Celia if she was alright, though he knew she wouldn't be. He apologized for not being able to save her companions. Overwhelmed, Celia broke down crying, confessing she couldn't endure it anymore. She explained her duty as saintess involved constant travel and pilgrimages, during which she was perpetually targeted by those wanting to use her power or seeing her as an obstacle, leading to innocent lives being sacrificed for her protection. Alba realized that while this would be mere backstory in the game, seeing her genuine tears in reality left him with no choice but to act. Celia cried out that she just wanted a normal life, free from fear. Alba recognized her tears as real, acknowledging the gravity of her situation. Moved, Alba gently patted Celia's head and, on impulse, asked if she wanted to come to his house. Surprised, Celia questioned his offer. Alba admitted he hadn't thought it through but told her he could see she had been working hard and deserved to rest. He felt her humanity, recognizing her as a real person, not just a game character, and believed smiling was more important than crying from hardship. He told her that if her destiny was to cry, she could run away from it, just as he had. If she had nowhere else to go, she could run away with him. With tears of relief, Celia accepted, asking to go with him. Alba, despite knowing he shouldn't get close to a death flag character, couldn't help but want to see her smile instead of cry. Celia introduced herself as Celia Margaret, and he replied, "I'm Alba. You can just call me Alba, Celia." Half a year later, Celia is shown smiling brightly, a sight Alba finds much more fitting than tears. Having regained her spirits, she received a reply to a letter she had sent to her father, the Pope. As Alba asked about its contents, Celia joyfully hugged him, asking if he would stay with her. Alba assured her that since he saved her, he was responsible for her until the end. Overjoyed, Celia then excitedly showed him a pamphlet, suggesting they go to this place together. Alba internally braced himself, assuming she wanted him to escort her to her father's church, feeling responsible since her running away was partly due to his influence. However, the pamphlet was for Kriana Academy. Alba was horrified, recognizing it as the main stage of the game, Kriana Fantasy, a place teeming with his death flags, essentially an executioner's block for him. He lamented that the goddess of destiny truly wouldn't let him escape. Celia explained that her father suggested she attend the academy if she desired a normal life. Alba despaired internally, having sworn never to go near that place. Oblivious to his turmoil, Celia beamed, telling Alba that if he came with her, she would have the best school life ever. The story continues by explaining that Kriana Academy, the setting for the dating action RPG Kriana Fantasy, is managed directly by the Kriana Kingdom and educates promising nobles, talented commoners, and even non-humans. Within this game, Alba Ericia, the unruly son of a duke, is an ultimate villain who consistently opposes the protagonist and invariably meets his demise. The reincarnated Alba is acutely aware of this grim future and is determined to avoid all possible death flags to escape his body's doomed fate. To this end, he has deliberately stayed far away from the main characters and the primary setting of the game, choosing instead to live a quiet, secluded life in the mountains. Despite his best efforts, he and Celia eventually find themselves approaching Kriana Academy in a carriage. Celia, full of excitement, marvels at the academy's impressive size, while Alba, filled with apprehension, can only agree weakly. Inside the carriage, Celia notices Alba looks pale and asks if he is all right. He dismisses it as mere carriage sickness. Concerned, Celia kindly offers her lap for him to use as a pillow, but Alba politely declines. He internally reflects that Celia is completely unaware of his true predicament, his connection to the game's death flags, or how these flags are often tied to the game's heroines, Celia herself being one of them. He silently questions why he is even accompanying her to this dreaded place. The narrative then flashes back to when Celia received a letter from her father, the Pope, who is the founder of the highly influential Goddess Church, and a figure whose power rivals that of the King of Kriana. Celia informed Alba that a portion of the letter was addressed to him. Alba, knowing he had been sheltering the Pope's daughter under unusual circumstances, was initially terrified, expecting an angry, threatening message filled with divine punishment. However, to his surprise, the letter was filled with sincere apologies and profound gratitude. The Pope's letter explained Celia's situation. She is the saintess not merely because she is his daughter but because she was born with miraculous powers, a grace from the goddess. From the moment of her birth, her fate was sealed to dedicate her life to the goddess's teachings. Ever since she was old enough to understand, Celia had dutifully visited believers, undertaking harsh and perilous journeys to bring salvation to the stray sheep through the power of the goddess. She never once complained, always fulfilling her duty with a smile, telling her father it was the responsibility of one born a saint. The Pope confessed his own foolishness, admitting he never realized her smile was a mask for her true, sorrowful feelings. He understood that all along, she had been crying inside, wishing for someone to save her and yearning for a normal life, just like the stray sheep she herself was. The Pope expressed his deepest gratitude to Alba, whom he called Albadano, for not only saving Celia's life but also her soul. Despite Celia still being the saintess and he the founder, the Pope stated his desire as a father to fulfill his beloved daughter's wish for a normal life and to support her in obtaining it. He humbly asked Alba not to laugh at him, an old sinner, for these sentiments. Celia, touched, remarked that her dad is a wonderful man. The Pope then made a request to Alba. He asked if Alba could attend Kriana Academy alongside Celia. He explained that the academy is where many talented individuals faithful to the goddess gather and that no other institution can match its educational standards. He believed Celia could live the life she wished for there. Furthermore, the Pope admitted his mind would be at ease knowing someone as strong as Alba, who single-handedly defeated Celia's assassins, was by her side. He was also sure that Celia herself wished to stay with Alba. Hearing this, Celia told Alba it was okay and that she didn't mind going to the academy alone, but Alba perceived that her smile was hiding her true desire for him to accompany her. Alba then attempted to dissuade her, describing the academy as a scary place with many bad people eager to throw their weight around. He warned her that while the country's management of the academy might prevent dangers like those on her pilgrimages, there would be plenty of unsavory characters wanting to seduce a cute girl like her. He pointedly asked if she still wanted to go. Celia, however, remained enthusiastic, saying she was sure many people there would become her friends and that she was looking forward to studying subjects beyond the Bible and experiencing a new environment, even if it meant losing free time or facing exhaustion. Resigned, Alba finally agreed, calling out her name and saying, "Then let's go, Celia," together. Celia cheered his name. Alba internally acknowledged that while he should ideally stay away from the academy and Celia to avoid his death flags, he had resolved to rebel against his predetermined fate with all his might. His decision was solidified by the thought that a smile suited Celia far better than a sad frown. As he finished reading, Alba noticed a postscript from Celia's father. "Peace, I have one final wish for you as a father, Albadano. Don't you dare make my daughter cry. Regards, Celia's daddy." Celia, seeing his expression, asked if he had changed his mind. Alba, flustered, forced a laugh and said he was looking forward to it, while internally grumbling that Celia's goddess seemed intent on guiding him to his death, perhaps even being the one who brought him to this world. And so, they arrived at Kriana Academy. Both Alba and Celia commented on its immense size, and Alba noted it was far more imposing in person than it ever appeared on a game screen. As they walked the grounds, Celia excitedly pointed out statues of the goddess, the hero, and a holy beast that protects maidens. Alba had a nagging feeling that each statue was linked to different events in the game, but frustratingly, he couldn't recall the specifics. He then reminded Celia that while they were at the academy, he would be known as Al, not Alba. The Pope had provided him with the identity of Al, the Holy Knight Apprentice, to help him hide his true identity as Alba Iricia and thus avoid his death flags. Celia, amused, remarked that her father's power was fearsome for arranging such a thing, and then commented that she honestly couldn't believe Al was formerly a nasty guy who ran away from home and was now considered dead by his family. Alba, still irked by his fuzzy game memories, reaffirmed his intention to stay away from anyone connected to his death flags. However, their presence was immediately noticed, and a crowd gathered, recognizing Celia. "Oh, it's the real saintess," someone exclaimed. People eagerly approached, asking if she was starting at the academy, wanting to shake her hand, or declaring they should be friends. Alba realized with a sinking feeling that Celia's superstar status in this world was the very thing he should have been worried about. Celia, overwhelmed by the throng calling out, "Saintess," remembered her simple wish for a normal life. Seeing her distress, Alba swiftly picked her up, announcing to the crowd that she was not there as the saint but merely as a student of Kriana Academy. He firmly requested them to refrain from thoughtlessly crowding her, declaring that as a Holy Knight apprentice, he would risk his life to protect the saintess. Celia, surprised but relieved, called him Al. The onlookers were impressed, murmuring that he must be the son of a great noble family for acting so decisively. As the crowd dispersed, Celia thanked Al. He chuckled, saying the founder would be mad if he let her cry. As they proceeded towards the academy entrance, a new figure, a young woman with long reddish-brown hair, dressed in knightly attire with a cape, observed them. Her eyes fixed on Al and she uttered, "Bah?" leaving the story on a tense cliffhanger. Upon arriving at the Grand Kriana Academy, a large and impressive castle-like structure, Celia excitedly urged Alba to hurry so they could get their uniforms. As they stood before the imposing entrance, Alba, despite having mentally prepared himself, felt a surge of fear and anxiety, his hand clenching into a tight fist as he stood there looking distressed. Seeing his unease, Celia gently took his hand, reassuring him that everything would be okay and that she was with him, calming his nerves. Alba, feeling somewhat pathetic for needing comfort, realized his resolve to protect Celia had been wavering. With his composure regained, Alba thanked Celia, acknowledging her supportive nature as the saintess, and Celia, still a little nervous herself, chuckled softly. They then walked further into the academy, marveling at the magnificent architecture and a huge stained-glass window depicting a hero protecting a goddess. Celia pointed out the hero protecting the goddess, and Alba noted to himself that the goddess always prayed for everyone, regardless of time or place. Secretly, Celia prayed that she would end up in the same class as Alba, admitting to herself it was entirely for personal reasons. They soon arrived at the uniform pickup area where an old man with round glasses greeted them, informing them they were both assigned to the unicorn class and handing them their uniforms. The old man encouraged them to enjoy their school life to the fullest. Celia was overjoyed that they were in the same class, expressing her thanks, while Alba felt a suspicious sense that the old man might have been involved in orchestrating this outcome. As they walked away with their uniforms, Celia expressed her excitement about wearing the new uniform, and Alba, relieved that no complications had arisen, accidentally called her Alba again. Celia corrected him, stating that at the academy, she was known as Al, and apologized for the confusion. Suddenly, a tall woman with long, fiery red hair approached them, confirming that Alba was indeed Alba, despite his different hair color. Alba immediately recognized her as Elena, one of the main heroines and a romance target from the game world he found himself in, and more crucially, someone connected to his death flag. Elena, surprised and confrontational, demanded to know why Alba was with the saintess. As Alba felt a bead of sweat trickle down his face, Celia quickly explained that Alba was her attendant and a Holy Knight apprentice named Al. Elena, however, scoffed, asking if Celia was mistaken and sarcastically remarking that Alba had merely removed B from his name. Alba desperately tried to calm Celia down, but she loudly protested, declaring that the Alba who saved her life was indeed Alba, but he was also Al now. Elena, undeterred, noted that he had run away from home and spread rumors of his own death, to which Alba feigned ignorance. Without warning, Elena unsheathed her sword and lunged at Alba, her eyes filled with serious intent, vowing to cut him down if he continued playing dumb. Alba was shocked by her fierce determination and quickly told Celia to stand back. A small crowd of students began to gather, recognizing Elena as Lady Elena Persia from the prestigious Persia family and Alba as the saintess's attendant. Elena, holding her sword before her, demanded once more if he was Alba, and Alba, his eyes set, declared that he was Al, and would fight her with all his strength, prepared for whatever fate might befall him. The crowd watched in astonishment as Alba, stating his name was Al, smoothly evaded Elena's powerful sword swing and then suddenly vanished. Elena was shocked, wondering when and how he had disappeared, when a voice from behind her calmly told her to calm down. Alba reappeared, having moved behind her, and expertly stopped her sword midair with his bare hand, leaving Elena and the crowd utterly stunned by his impossible feat. A flashback revealed Alba's training, where he learned about elemental affinities like fire, water, and wind, which are powers of nature. He recalled studying the attribute weaknesses of enemies in the game. Alba discovered his own attribute, a faint, strange sensation beyond his five senses, which was lightning. He spent a year diligently focusing his mind to harmonize with this power, constantly keeping the sensation in his thoughts, and then a further 3 years mastering it until he could wield it freely, transforming his entire body into lightning itself. He chuckled, proud of gaining such power, confident that he could now resist the death flag. Back in the present, Alba held Elena's sword and calmly told her to listen to him and stop her foolishness, stating again that he was Al now. He then remarked that she must resent Alba, which surprised Elena. As she tried to retort, Alba swiftly grabbed Celia and vanished once more, leaving the confused crowd exclaiming that both the saintess and Alba had disappeared, calling him insane. Elena stood alone, frustrated, acknowledging that they had gotten away. Another student approached her, asking if she was okay, and she replied that she was fine, though a single tear ran down her face as she claimed it was just dust in her eyes. Alba had carried Celia a considerable distance, bringing them to a quieter street, and he apologized for carrying her so suddenly. Celia, a bit flustered, then asked about Elena, wondering who that beautiful lady was. Alba teased her, asking if she was jealous, but Celia quickly denied it, insisting she wasn't jealous even though Elena was more mature, had a bigger chest, and was super pretty. Alba laughed, calling her a terrible liar. Celia, playfully pouting, agreed to forgive him only if he carried her like that the whole way. Alba, calling her saintess, agreed to her request and then casually asked if they should go to the house her daddy had prepared for them, which completely surprised Celia. He walked on, carrying her in his arms, concluding that this new life at Kriana Academy seemed like it would be quite interesting. Alba and Celia arrive at the new house Celia's father has prepared for them, and Celia happily exclaims that it is much bigger than their old mountain cabin. As they stand before the large, impressive home, Alba observes that it's a 2-story house with its own garden located right in the heart of the royal capital, a place bustling with people from all over the world. He quietly notes that it must have been incredibly expensive, which is just what he would expect from Celia's powerful father. Inside, Celia is delighted to find a vegetable garden where they can once again grow their own food. They explore their new home, which has a kitchen, bath, and living room on the first floor, while the second floor has separate bedrooms for both Alba and Celia. Sitting on his new bed, Alba thinks to himself that it is a very good house. Later, he asks Celia if her father provided any money for their living expenses, but she says no. She explains that her father advised her to earn her own living if she truly desires an ordinary life. Alba thinks this is a genuine attempt to help her become independent, though his opinion changes slightly when Celia adds that her father promised to give her money if things become too difficult, making Alba think he is still too soft on her. While sitting at their table, Alba states that since they don't have much money, he will need to find work right away. Celia surprises him by saying he doesn't have to, as she confidently declares that she will earn money for both of them. She reveals that her father has already arranged for her to have a job at the local church. Her work involves using her divine blessings from the goddess, such as her healing power that cures all wounds and her oracle hearing that warns of disasters. Many troubled and sick believers gather to seek her aid, and Celia receives a portion of the donations they make to the church. Alba becomes pensive as he thinks about her situation. He realizes that Celia took this job with the pure intention of helping others, but he can't shake the nasty thought that the church might be using her as a gold mine because she attracts so many donations. He tries to push the thought away, but Celia notices his scowl and asks what's wrong. When he dismisses her concern, she becomes upset and declares she doesn't care about him anymore before storming out of the room, saying she will eat dinner by herself. Later that night, Alba lies on his bed, thinking that he didn't say anything wrong and that he is just her companion for now. He reflects that Celia already has a proper match in Yuri's, the true protagonist of the game, Kriana Fantasy. Yuri's is handsome and a master of sword and magic, the complete opposite of a villain like himself, and all the heroines in the game are destined to fall for him. Alba figures that since 3 months have passed since he met Celia, She is bound to meet Yuri soon, and there will be no reason for him to stay with her anymore. He fondly remembers the peaceful and happy times they spent together at the mountain cabin, where they farmed, cooked, and gazed at the stars. It was the first time in Celia's life that she had felt so relaxed. Although letting her go would help him avoid his death flags, Alba admits to himself that he would be lying if he said he wouldn't miss her. Later, Celia knocks on his door and apologizes for her earlier outburst, sincerely thanking him because she knows she is only here now thanks to him. The next morning, Alba wakes to find that Celia has already left for her duties at the church, leaving behind a note of apology and a hamburger for his breakfast. While enjoying the familiar food, he decides that he must also go out and earn money. His quest for work leads him to the Adventurers Guild, an organization that manages jobs ranging from simple deliveries to dangerous monster exterminations. Alba reflects that adventuring wasn't necessary to complete the game, but in real life, it's the fastest way to earn money. Dressed in a hood to hide his identity, he looks at the quest board and is drawn to a high-rank magic beast extermination quest with a massive reward, confident in the strength he has built over the last 3 years. However, other adventurers mock him for looking at the S-rank board as a newbie. A receptionist at the 1-star counter welcomes him and explains that rookies must start with simple quests and raise their rank to get bigger rewards. Resigned, Alba accepts a 1-star herb collection quest in the Western Forest and, to save money on a carriage, decides to run there himself. Moving with the speed of lightning, he zips through the streets, creating a gust of wind that startles 2 commoner girls from Kriana Academy. The girls had been complaining about expensive rent in the capital when the sudden gust passes them. Just then, the game's protagonist, Yuri, appears with his companion Alice. He assures her the wind was nothing as they continue on their way. Holding a 4-leaf clover, a symbol from the game world where he was destined to be the strongest villain, Alba had just completed a herb-gathering request from the Adventurers Guild. He stood on a high cliff overlooking the rugged terrain, then skillfully leaped down, landing with a powerful impact. He reflected that after 3 years of living in the mountains, such tasks were simple for him, especially in places like Narabo Forest, which was a designated Adventurers Guild area. Upon returning to the guild, the clerk, wearing glasses and a surprised expression, could not believe that Alba had finished his quest in merely 3 hours, a journey typically requiring 6 hours for a round trip. Alba, with a confident smile, presented the collected herbs and simply stated that he had run a lot to achieve such speed, highlighting his enhanced abilities. Receiving 10,000 C for the rank 1 quest, Alba was somewhat unimpressed, realizing that to earn substantial money, he would need to rapidly increase his adventurer rank. As he left the guild, he thought about Celia, wondering if she was managing well at the church. Meanwhile, at the church, Celia was seen praying fervently, asking the goddess, their mother, to guide them, the lost and wandering souls, to their proper destiny. A large crowd of believers had gathered, praising her as the saintess, marveling at her mercy and divine protection, and some even commented on her cuteness. The old man, observing the scene, noted that the believers were filled with joy. Unbeknownst to Alba, Celia had earned more than 10 times what he had in the same amount of time. Later, Alba enjoyed a steaming bowl of adventure ramen, noting how great it was to have a ramen shop in the capital and how comforting familiar food from his original world was. He then mused about his own ducal family, also residing in the capital, whose household was now led by his elder brother. He deduced that his brother must not think highly of him, as the rumors of his death had not been denied. Finishing his meal, Alba realized that unlike the remote mountains, the capital was full of people who knew him, including individuals like Elena whom he had encountered earlier. He resolved to stay vigilant to avoid triggering any destruction flags, acknowledging that he didn't know who or what might lead to his downfall. As Alba walked through the bustling streets, focusing on being cautious, a sudden commotion erupted. People screamed and scattered as a large runaway horse galloped wildly through the street. Amidst the chaos, Celia was spotted sitting on the ground, paralyzed by fear as the horse charged directly toward her. She shrieked, bracing herself for impact, but just as the horse was about to reach her, Alba moved with incredible speed, a blur of motion as he intervened. Celia, her eyes wide with surprise, saw the horse abruptly stop, a testament to Alba's swift and powerful intervention. In a flash of blue light, Alba swiftly intervened in the path of the runaway horse, saving Celia. Celia, wide-eyed and stunned, watched as Alba stood triumphantly on the back of the now-fallen horse, his power evident in the shimmering air around him. He quickly asked if she was hurt, to which a dazed Celia could only stammer a reply. Alba then gently reassured the horse, explaining that he had only temporarily stunned it and asked for its forgiveness as it let out a soft whinny. Celia, overcome with relief and gratitude, thanked Alba profusely for saving her. As Celia looked at Alba's face, she felt a strong sense of recognition, wondering if she had met him somewhere before. Alba's heart pounded, realizing the danger of being recognized, especially if she was a noble who might know of the ducal family. Around them, the gathered crowd cheered loudly, amazed by his heroic act and calling him incredibly cool. Alba, however, felt a surge of panic, regretting drawing so much attention to himself. He realized that while he couldn't have ignored Celia's scream, his actions had made him stand out far too much. Suddenly, a new figure appeared amidst the commotion. A tall, imposing man in armor, flanked by two guards, who demanded to know what the fuss was about. Alba quickly pulled his hood further over his face, desperate to hide his identity. Celia, however, immediately recognized the newcomer as Lord Roy Iresia, the Duke. She quickly explained to Roy that Alba had saved her from the runaway horse, an account which Roy calmly accepted, stating he already knew. Alba internally reeled, realizing that this man was none other than his older brother, Roy. He knew, with absolute certainty, that he could not let his brother discover his true identity. Roy, appearing somewhat miffed, then questioned Alba, asking if his gratitude hadn't reached him, or if Alba was simply ill-mannered. Alba, still trying to conceal his face, offered a polite but evasive apology, claiming he had done nothing significant that warranted such attention. Roy persisted, inquiring if he might see Alba's face, to which Alba demurred, stating his face was not fit for the Duke to see. But Roy, with a steely gaze, asserted that it was his decision to make and demanded that Alba turn his face towards him, leaving Alba looking deeply distressed and cornered. As Alba stood, visually cornered by his brother Roy and the arriving Elena suddenly declared that she had found Al, immediately catching Alba's anxious attention. While the guards secured the previously runaway horse, Roy, with a stern demeanor, began to inquire about the commotion. Elena, a striking woman dressed in a long white coat, politely greeted Duke Roy. Alba felt a tightening in his chest, realizing he was now caught between his imposing brother and Elena, both of whom held crucial information about his past. Elena, whom Alba had previously identified as a key figure in his death flag and a formidable individual, along with his own brother, created a perilous situation that left him wondering how to proceed. Roy directly asked Elena if she knew Alba, to which Elena, maintaining a composed facade, confirmed he was her friend Al, a holy knight apprentice, and explained that she had been searching for him because he had missed their scheduled meeting. Alba internally questioned her sudden pretense. Elena then slyly remarked that it was quite characteristic for a holy knight apprentice to be delayed by performing a good deed. Roy seemed to accept this explanation, musing that if this person truly was Al, then he could not be his brother, Alba, as he believed Elena would not be mistaken. However, Elena swiftly shattered that illusion, asserting that she was Alba's former fiancé, and subtly reminded Roy that he was supposedly dead, thereby revealing her complete awareness of Alba's true identity. Roy's expression hardened as he concurred that his foolish younger brother, who had disgraced the Iresia name, was indeed no longer among the living. Alba, maintaining a facade of casualness, privately acknowledged his brother's continued belief in his demise. Following this tense exchange, Roy offered to escort Elena back to her estate, an offer she graciously accepted. Celia, still innocent of the underlying tension, affectionately addressed Alba as Al-sama and expressed her profound gratitude for his assistance, to which Alba responded with a simple nod. As Roy, Elena, and their guards departed, Alba briefly allowed himself to feel a misguided sense of relief, mistakenly believing that Elena had been successfully convinced of his Al identity, and he quickly made to leave the area. However, Elena abruptly stopped him, demanding a full explanation, and then pointed her sword at him, using his true name, Alba. Alba, caught off guard, feigned bewilderment, asking what she was talking about, while sweat beaded on his brow. Elena then threatened to expose his true identity to the ducal family if he continued to play dumb, confirming her full knowledge and sending a wave of despair through Alba, who lamented that his academy life had not even truly begun before this new crisis erupted. In stark contrast to Alba's predicament, Celia, blissfully unaware of the deeper meaning of these encounters, happily prayed to the goddess of fate, expressing gratitude for the unfolding events. As the scene shifted, two other characters, Yuri's and Alice, appeared, walking along a different street, carrying shopping bags. Alba, meanwhile, continued to internalize the relentless pursuit of fate, feeling as though critical flags from his previous game life were constantly being raised around him, impacting his current reality, particularly the goddess of fate and Elena's fate's flag. Celia, still smiling innocently, seemed entirely oblivious to the true nature of these flags and the dangers they represented. Alice, however, wore a knowing, slightly mischievous smile, suggesting her own awareness of the extraordinary circumstances. The narrative concluded with Yuri's intense gaze, hinting at his crucial role in the intertwined destinies, promising further developments.